When I made my top 75 all-time ranking list, there were a few mistakes, but none so large as leaving Sam Jones off the list entirely. Yes, I technically listed him as an honorable mention, but Sam Jones, 10-time NBA champion, was only an honorable mention on my top 75 list. That is ridiculous. Now, I'm not sure if I would go as far as to put him in the top 50, but he's honestly pretty close, and I cannot believe myself that I left this absolute legendary player off the list. So here I am to tell you all, first of all, sorry for my dumbassery, and second of all, why Sam Jones absolutely should have been on that list, in case you didn't know. The Celtics legend passed away at the age of 88 yesterday, and I am here to tell you why he is 100% a top 75 player of all time. Sam Jones, aka the original Mr. Clutch before Jerry West took that title for himself, was drafted to the Boston Celtics and played his rookie season in the 1958 NBA season. This man won 10 NBA championships, the second most all-time, and for a portion of his career was the second best player on the Boston Celtics behind Bill Russell. But when he was drafted, many people may have mistakenly believed that he just wasn't all that good, as he came off the bench in his first 4 seasons and only averaged 15 points a game in 1961. But everything changed when he got the starting spot in his 5th year in the NBA and instantly became an annual All-Star contender. Averaging over 18 points a game for the next 7 seasons, Sam Jones was the main offensive hub on the Boston Celtics throughout most of the mid-60s, and being the clear number 2 player on the team behind Bill Russell, specifically peaking in the year 1965 when he averaged 26 points a game, which at the time was a franchise career high. Yeah, the 60s were a different time. Sam Jones was great. His efficiency for the time was very good. He was known as a dude who could both slash and shoot, with another one of his nicknames being The Shooter. He wasn't exactly on a Jerry West level, mind you, but he was a very good shooter from the areas that we would now call the mid-range, although I don't believe he shot too many three-point range jumpers. Why would you at that time? Why would you? He also gave Bill Russell a little bit of defensive help on the perimeter, as the Celtics, you might not know this because of their incredible defensive rating every year, they actually weren't a very good defensive team overall, specifically having some perimeter struggles with guys like Bob Cousy, who just weren't that good on defense. Sam Jones, however, very much could defend dudes and often took the toughest opposing guard assignment. He was a good player on both ends of the floor, but his focus was on offense. While Bill Russell controlled the defense, Sam Jones was the man who you gave the ball to in the big moments to hit the big shots. And over and over and over again, he came through in those games, whether it was scoring 21 points at the end of Game 7 in 1969 to win their final championship, or a bunch of other game winners or big shots in the fourth throughout his career. Sam Jones was just a fantastic player when it mattered most, and you can see that in his playoff numbers, where his points per game for his career actually go up from 18 to 19, I know, not a big jump, but big enough to pay attention to, including, once again, 1965, the year that Sam Jones really just played out of his mind, and averaged 29 points a game in the postseason. And you may be thinking to yourself right now, look, Mike, yeah, Sam Jones was a good player, but is anything he did really all that impressive or important? Because he was playing on an all-time Celtics team. They were stacked every season, they had all kinds of talent and depth, they were unbeatable. It doesn't matter if Sam Jones played or not, they still would have beaten anyone. They were just too freaking good. And to that I say, you are wrong. That was a weird way to say that, but look, you don't know what you're talking about. The Celtics at no point were some 2017 Golden State Warriors type team. Yes, they were very, very good, but they really weren't unstoppable in most of their championship seasons. They had the worst offense in the league in 3 seasons of the 1960s. 3. Sam Jones was a critical part of this team's success because Bill Russell, as amazing as he was on defense, and I think he was the best defender ever, as amazing as he was, you can't win a game by only playing on one end of the floor. You need somebody to step up on offense, and for several years in the mid-60s, that someone was Sam Jones. Just ask Wilt Chamberlain. Sam Jones obliterated his ass in 3 different Game 7s. He outplayed Wilt Chamberlain, outscored Wilt Chamberlain in 3 different Game 7s. That's who this man was. He was Mr. Clutch. He was the dude who you gave the ball to in the big games, in the big moments, and you trusted him to make the shot, and clearly he came through because he won 10 NBA championships. Mic drop, I guess. I think that's all I've got to say, really. Especially because I'm sick right now, and it's kind of difficult for me to keep talking. That's why I'm whispering, by the way. I don't know if it sounds like a whisper to you guys, but I'm, talking pretty quietly. It's a little hard for me to talk loud right now. My throat's not feeling great. But Sam Jones, absolute beast. Rest in peace, man. You were a fantastic NBA player, and you need more respect. From me, first of all, I'm still mad at myself for leaving you off that list, and from everyone else in general, because Sam Jones is just not one of those dudes who gets talked about. Even when you mention the 60s Celtics, there's Bill Russell, obviously, and the next names are John Havlicek and Bob Cousy, and Sam Jones just kind of gets thrown back there with guys like KC Jones, who, were not on his level. Dude was a great player, one of the most clutch players of all time, one of the best winners of all time, and he needs some more recognition all time. Thank you for watching.